So yesterday I just got back from Alex Hormozi's workshop, and I'm going to share with you guys all the notes and materials that I've learned so that you can use in your business. And here's the proof that I actually went. But the reason I'm making this video is to give you guys the 3 takeaways. And I also got to ask Alex Hormozi a question that absolutely blew my mind on how he answered it and gave us insane clarity of what we need to do in our business. So why I make this video is because my business partner and I paid $10,000, so it was $5,000 each to go to learn from Alex Hormozi's team in 2 days. And I want to give you like literally all the lessons, like 3 core lessons that are going to absolutely help your business so that you don't have to pay the money and ultimately you can just get all the experience and knowledge. And I wish I could have seen this video for someone else, and I want to make this for you. This will be a very, very technical video, and it's going to be very relevant to business owners or life insurance agents. And I also want to document my plans. Goal initially short term is to get to $1 million per month in the next 12 months, and then ultimately long term build a $100 million life insurance agency. And Alex actually gave me really, really clear advice at the workshop that actually changed my business. And I just want to share this with you all, no matter where you are. So first thing is I want to give you context. So our business is a life insurance remote call center selling life insurance to seniors. And we have done 7 million top line this year, around 7 million in top line revenue and $1 million in bottom line, okay? And one lesson I want to share with you is I'm only going to state the facts and tell the truth. This is a very clear motto that you're going to learn if you're posting content or in business, and what they tell you is to state the facts and tell the truth. And that's where we're at. So one of the problems that I was looking to solve, and you might feel these in your own business or if you're an agent, is number one, we went there because we wanted to learn how to, fix, our sales team as we scale and grow. And we ultimately felt like our team and where we're looking to go might feel stuck. So we wanted a clear path moving forward of how we can, number one, reduce agent churn, how we can attract and improve also hiring great talent. We also wanted to create a retention plan and a massive growth opportunity. Like, we wanted to get with the team at acquisition to figure out what would be a great way to build a incredible A player opportunity to attract A players. And there's a lot that I'm gonna dive into, and there's a lot that you're gonna learn about their sales team that's gonna hopefully help you. And most importantly, I wanted to learn how to allocate my time to recruiting and understanding how to allocate my own personal resources to grow and expand and, hit certain KPIs to get to $100 million. So the second clear goal was to create the best path to build a $100 million life insurance agency. I wanted to think bigger. I wanted to be in the room with people that have built massive businesses, and actually was in the room with people that built massive businesses and consulted by their team who built massive businesses that have sold for and exited for 50 million plus. And they gave us great insight on how to attract, build A players, and ultimately learn how to build agents who want to partner with your agency long term. Because real goal is to make sure that we can learn to train, hire, and build an incredible sales team. And the third real problem that we have when it comes to just being honest with some of the problems that we face, and you might face this as well, is our LTV, which is our long-term value of a client to CAC ratio, is like a lot lower than what Alex typically talks about in his videos. So we wanted to get strategy on how when you grow, your margin shrinks, and with the shrinking margins create less upfront capital to invest and deploy. So how are we going to continue to grow when margins begin to get cut? What is the best way to attack this? And ultimately, right now we are at a 3-to-1 selling a product with no pricing control. So we sell life insurance, so we have no control of the pricing. So how do we improve that to like a 20-to-1 or a 10-to-1? Do we sell another product? And Alex gave us clear insight, like Medicare. Do we have to change the product to increase our LTV to CAC? Or third, do we add on a different model, like a brokerage model, and just go ahead and change the model? So it was a concept like, if it's broke, don't fix it, or should we change? And there's a lot of clarity. So stay until the end. I will share with you the exact conversation on how that went. Because just to give you a quick little hint, I got to ask Alex Hormozi a question, and he literally said, yes, do that. And that gave me a lot of clarity, and it made the trip worth the $10,000. And also talked about a topic. He also exposed a topic that you've probably never heard about publicly, so I also want to share that. And I'm also documenting my journey. So let's actually go into the meat. And the one core lesson that I learned prior to getting into this is they operate off of the theory of constraints. And if you're new to this might be a new concept, but if you're struggling in business or you're not where you want to be, the main question that you focus on at these workshops is you want to ask yourself this question. So I'm currently at X in revenue, and I would like to be at Y in revenue. What is stopping me is blank. And then this blank is your actual constraint. Now, when it comes to what the constraint is, all they talk about is spend your whole entire life, your day, solving for this variable. What is this blank that's preventing you from getting to the next level? And then do it violently is what they talked about. So what is your constraint? Okay, well, it's not really that. And that's what the first thing I want to talk about is lesson number one that I learned that was most crucial is great leaders, great CEOs understand how to prioritize their resource allocation better, okay? Reason that people have bigger businesses than you or they're growing faster than you is because they know how to allocate the most precious resources better than you, which is very humbling and something that you can solve for as well, which is they know how to allocate their time better, they know how to allocate their resource of money better, and they also need to make sure that their effort is being improved. Now when it comes to time, the one thing that I want to think through is like, was I actually spending my time right, which we'll talk about? Was I actually spending my money the right way to grow? And then was I actually using my effort the right way so that I was growing the business? Now the constraint that we were solving for is actually the growth, which we'll talk about in a second, but there's really 4 ways to solve problems the right way. And there was a graph that came up, it's like a 4-quadrant graph that shows there's 4 ways to make sure that you're allocating and solving problems the right way. And a lot of us typically have the wrong problem, but are trying to solve it the right way, which is not going to be a great solution. The second way is that we have the wrong problem that we're attacking. We're spending all of our time, all of our resources, all of our effort into the wrong problem, and we're still solving it the wrong way, which means that we're feeling stuck. Or the third way is that we have the right problem, so we have the right constraint, but we're solving it the wrong way. We might be trying to fix something that actually doesn't, that needs to be fixed, but we're doing it the wrong way. We have the hammer and the nail, but we actually should be using a screwdriver. And then the fourth way is you want to, solve it the right problem, the right way. Okay, this is crucial, and that's where you want to spend all your time in this quadrant. Find out what the right problem is, and then allocate your right resources to solve it the right way. And a lot of these business principles are very, very simple, but all they talked about. So the question I wanted to ask myself is, maybe in your business as well, is where should I be spending my time and my effort, right? So number one, it came down to identifying what was the number one constraint. And this constraint that was preventing us from getting to $100 million is this people, which I'll talk about in a second. So why I talk about this and why it's so important is why it's a lesson for me is that we all do a lot of things in entrepreneurship, but are we doing things the right way to truly grow the business? And these 2 days allow me to step back and realize like, hey, you're doing a lot of the right things, but are you actually solving the right problem? And through this, our biggest constraint was recruiting, and you want to tie that back to just solving the right constraint. So whatever you think it is, you might not know what it is, but here's how you identify what your core constraint is. Okay, this is all about finding what the right problem is and solving it the right way. So what they actually have an example that comes up, and in the workshop, they're like, here's the scenario. What is the constraint? And in this case, I'll give you a similar example. Let's say you have a pencil manufacturing, right? And you are building pencils and you sell pencils, right? And it's all about the assembly line approach. It's like a gear approach. There's like the gear's spinning fast on this end, but this gear is spinning slow. Then turn this gear out and enter in a bigger gear, and it's gonna allow your assembly line to get back, and then you're gonna go. But a lot of us, we have one process, like one step in our assembly line that is just off. We're not allocating the resources to fix that. And the minute that we fix that, then we'll have massive growth in our business. So it's all a solvable problem, like simple, hey, fix the gears or fix the problem in the assembly line and you're gonna see your business grow. And the example that they gave is something similar to this. You have an assembly line where you manufacture erasers, you have the wood, and then you have the lead that makes the pencils. And you wanna look at measuring the output of what's going on. So for example, the eraser might only be a production output of 25%. We have the wood of the pencil, which is at a 45% production output, or that we have the lead that we are producing at 30% of the output. And a lot of the times we're trying to fix our wood from going from 45% to 50%. But if you just look at allocating resources and figure out what the problem is in the assembly line, if I could increase my eraser production and spend all my time, my energy, my effort, and money in fixing the eraser output scenario, then what would happen is that this production line will actually create a higher level of throughput and output. So that was a simple little measure and a little idea that they talk about that allows you to understand what is your true problem and then focus all of your resources in attacking that problem so that you can make more money and improve your business. So what function creates the highest impact when you're looking at this? And we just solved for that. It is to fix the eraser issue, okay? Make sure you understand what you're solving for. Now, Alex's team introduced a very important theory that you might have heard before in his podcast, which I did hear before, and weirdly cited a lot, is that a lot of things that you hear in the podcast and in the videos of what he teaches, like his team can just regurgitate in seconds. So their training internally is incredible. It's like they're speaking through Alex as you sit there. So they talk about the theory of ICE. And this is the theory that they use when making decisions. So when Alex walks on stage, when I first, on the second day, he walked on stage and he says, hey guys, you're gonna have a ton of material. You're gonna have a list of 10, 20, 30 things to do. But how do you know which ones to prioritize, which ones you want to focus on? And he kind of talked through a little bit of this ICE framework, which he talks about impact, okay? How much is this going to move the needle? C is confidence. How sure am I that this is going to actually work? And then E is E. So right now, as an entrepreneur, you might have 20 things that you want to think through. There's 20 different problems that you want to solve. But what is going to have the highest level of impact? What is going to have the highest confidence in actually you achieving this goal or outcome? And what has the highest level of ease? Changing a landing page in 20 to 30 minutes compared to building out a full VSL might have similar impact. The confidence might be the same, but the ease might just be changing the copy. And all the things that you think through is about through this framework of what will score the highest. And it's a math equation. What's gonna have the highest impact, the highest confidence, and has the, the simplest or the lowest amount of ease of just, hey, simple fix, let's do this. And that's how they make decisions on understanding how to allocate your resources properly, which is mind-blowing. So spend all your time on the constraint. Everything else does not matter. It's like, focus on this, be violent, and attack. Now, what am I gonna learn? And hopefully you can learn how I take something like this and turn it into practical. So the action that I learned that I need to focus on is I need to spend at least 6 hours per day, right? Right now, I'm spending about 1 to 3 hours per day on recruiting. Like, our constraint is we need to have more better people hiring. So I need to focus on hiring talent, screening talent, shooting content, working with DMs, like sending people DMs that want to work with us, and even calling agents and being in the weeds. If I was Sharon, who's the president of acquisition, that's what he would do, is just focus on finding the talent. And why is this so important? Because there's a direct correlation to revenue, what we've seen when we're tracking revenue and growth, to the talent growth and how you're scaling and building talent. So your agent count is really important, and it's simple. Like, it's really, really simple. Bring on more and better agents, and you'll see it's gonna help you, Peter, your business grow. So reflection, really simple. We have all these different problems, but through the ICE method, I learned that I just need to hire more people. Now, let's talk about some things that Alex said. So I asked Alex a question about this. This is a two-part question. Here's the first part. I asked Alex, hey Alex, I want to grow my team, my size, and the brand, team size and brand. Okay, what would be the best strategy to expand and to attract better talent? Like, what would I do in my content strategy? And he asked me, well, how much would it cost to remove the things that prevent you from making more content? He's like, basically like, posting more content will not make you poor, Peter. And everyone, laughs. And I was like, well, I don't know, it probably costs like 70 grand, to, get the things off my plate that would allow me to focus on content and recruiting, all back to my core constraint. And he said, well, hire someone and shoot more content. And I said, thanks, Chief. It was just simple advice, nothing fancy, nothing sexy. It was like, just do that and focus on content. That's your constraint, go after it. So the lesson that I learned is that all the stuff that doesn't solve the constraint, get it off your plate as fast as possible and just focus. Focus on allocating your time and resources to that one thing. So you might be thinking right now in your business, there's so many things that I'm doing that don't matter. Focus and do things that actually matter. And a macro lesson for all this that you hopefully can take with you is a lot of his podcasts and YouTube, like, you get the same answers. So a lot of people are going up and asking the same questions, and he just give you the same answers. So through this journey, I learned that humans need confirmation bias. Like, I already probably knew that. Like, if I just step back and analyze my behaviors, then I probably knew that I need to do that. But when Alex told me, it's like someone from the outside gives you advice, it's like, well, I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna actually do that now. So being in these rooms or being able to speak with people that know more than you or have more success than you, it's like, hey, sometimes you just need to hear from their mouth instead of your internal thoughts, which will allow you to move quickly. And that's why we pay to go to these things. Most of us consume his content, but lack the action. Just do the stuff he says. Like, really just take the content. And my strategy moving forward and what I've been doing is, it's like, take 2 or 3 of his podcasts and just do them over and over and over. And then until a new piece of content comes out, don't focus on that new piece of content. Focus on the things that you can actually do, and just don't get into the trap of just over consuming and not doing, okay? Lesson number 2, this was a really important framework that I learned, was focus, push or pivot, more, better, new frame. Okay, you've probably heard this before, but I went to one of his execs that were there, sold his business, worked, you know, with Alex hand in hand at previous companies, and I gave him this idea. I was like, hey, John, let's say his name is John. Do you like this idea? And here's why, which is like, hey, I want to build in like a university to scale and build talent. Do you think that's a good idea? And he was like, no, do what you've been doing for the last 2 years and just do more, do it better, and do it for the next 36 months, and you'll get to 50 million. He didn't even think through like, oh yeah, you should probably do it. He's like, well, why don't you just do more? I'm like, well, I can. He's like, what's preventing you from doing more? I'm like, well, here's why. Well, he's like, well, don't do that, and just do more. And it was just a simple answer and simple clarity of just focus and do what's already working and just do it better, okay? The lesson I want to share with you and what I learned is that you don't need a new idea. As entrepreneurs, we sit there, you know, thinking that it's all about ideas, but it's actually about execution. Just do more or better of what's already working, okay? It's not the new idea that's going to take you to hit your goal. It's to focus on the one thing that you hate doing that you know needs to be done, okay? This is going to read this to myself. It's to focus on the one thing that you typically hate to be doing that you know needs to be done, and focus on that, okay? Because what I learned is that entrepreneurs are reinforced around what they like doing and what they're good at. For me, it's sales. It's, you know, teaching people how to sell. It's selling in front of the team. It's, you know, teaching others how to sell and train them. But that's the stuff that I shouldn't be focusing on. That's the stuff that got us to 1 million. But to go to 1 million a month, it's, hey, you need to focus on the stuff that actually needs to be done. It's the stuff in your gut that you know you need to be doing that you're not doing. It's the not sexy, the not flashy stuff. Just do that. And I was like, cool, all right. So an example that basically I gave is that I just need to hire more people. Instead of spending 3 hours a day or 2 hours a day, I need to spend 6 hours plus a day making 50 outbound dials per call. I need to not listen to new agent calls. I need to not, you know, transfer calls, because it's all around sales. I need to remove myself and focus on what's going to actually allow me to get to my goal, which is hire more people. And if I did that, will I grow? And the answer was absolutely yes. Second core concept is I just need to, you know, I need to make better ads, right? So if we're improving our marketing department, right now we test 10 ads per week. And after meeting with someone that worked internally with that actually helped launch their book, they test 100 ads per week. So it's not just like we don't know what to do. We just need to allocate our resources, and I just need to do more work, is what I learned from speaking with their, you know, exec team there. So, but the third lesson I think was the most impactful lesson that I learned when it comes to building a winning sales team. I think there's a lot of lessons in here that I just selfishly wrote down because this is what I'm struggling with, that I can use. It's going to absolutely blow up our business. And some of the most important takeaways here. So, which was lesson number 3, build a winning sales team. How to hire a sales team. So I just looked through like their structure, and I asked their head of HR, basically the guy that does all the recruiting and hiring, over 100 people he's hired at that company, and he basically just broke it down into 4 to 5 different core pieces that I'm going to take with me. Number 1 is that you need to ask knockout questions in your applications and who you're actually screening. So just as you qualify your leads in a sales pipeline, you also have to qualify your leads in a hiring pipeline, okay? And that's what I want to do, and be more diligent, is like make sure that your front end process is qualifying people that are your exact avatar. Don't let people sneak through the cracks that don't align well with your vision and your mission, okay? So qualify your leads initially, okay? There's a direct comparison to your sales funnel and your recruiting funnel is basically what I learned, is make sure you have qualified leads, okay? Now the process is really simple, is that once you have the qualified leads, step 2 is to make sure that you have a screening call, okay? And they talked about like, hey, when they're hiring for their sales team, it's like, it's a one-to-one or a one-to-many screening call. So in this case, you can either do or. It depends on your application flow. If you have like only 10 applications a week, then do one-to-one. But if you have, you know, 100, 200, even up to 500, he said, like, just have a one-to-many screening call. It's like, keep it qualified, top of funnel, you know, form comes in, they complete the form, and then they book on a group interview, and then you go around, ask simple questions, and you just see, are they a weirdo, and set clear expectations. And then once you find the non-weirdos, the people that you think you like, send them a following link to do another interview and continue the process. And that following process would be inside of the technical interview. So go from knockout to screening call, make sure they're not a weirdo, into a technical interview. And especially for sales, send them the script ahead of time, and then in your block, which is your call with them, is going to be a one-to-one phone call or Zoom, and you're going to do a role play, and you're going to test if they're coachable. And all you're doing is give them the script, take them through the process. It's not so much how they do it, it's just, are they going through the process, and when you give them feedback, are they coachable? In this example, they said, prepare for about 45 minutes on your block. So spend about 45 minutes with one candidate, 45 to an hour. And if it doesn't go good, if it goes bad, then cut it down to 30 minutes and just get out of there quickly. So that was the technical side. And then they typically have a fourth interview. So it's screening call, third, they have a screening call, a technical interview, and then they go to a culture fit. And this culture fit could actually be 2 culture fit calls. Basically where they're testing for character traits, and they're most importantly testing with their core values. Do they have their core values? And when it comes down to testing for core values, it's like a script. You just want to ask the same questions that you would ask in the sales process. Like, well, hey, tell me a time where you displayed unimpeachable character. Or tell me a time that you had to find a way, or that you could have done something wrong, but you had to do it right. And they just ask them to give them stories to help them understand if this person actually has their core values. And sometimes it's a 1 call, or sometimes it's a 2 call analyst, because one of the most important things that they look for is making sure that they have their core values. Now, insightfully enough, the advice that they gave me was like, you don't really need the core value fit, like, because you can always bring people in. If they're not a good fit, you can let them go quickly. So there's no risk. So it's optional, but if you're hiring, they also recommend making sure that you're looking for the core values. Now, they said if you found someone that you like, you can offer them. The last step is provide the offer either on the spot or via email, which is cool. Like if you like someone, I don't do this yet, but I'm probably gonna implement it. I'm like, hey dude, you wanna join the team? I'm gonna send you the offer. They say yes, you close them, and then they're on the team. So that's kind of their quick little process of how to hire for the sales team. Now, what I want to talk about is here, what are some of the lessons, the key lessons that I learned about their sales team, okay? First lesson was that you want to find your sales avatar, just like you have a client avatar. Something that I learned from the workshop sidebar is when you're doing marketing or advertising and you want to, increase revenue, is find the avatar, the person, your client, that's your best client, and market to them. And the same thing here when it comes to find your sales avatar when you're selling to people that you want to have on your team. And that avatar was really interesting for them. They all have, sales guys that all look the same. They all kind of talk the same. They have the same mannerisms in a sense, and they're a very specific niche of guys. Like think of athletic, fit, good looking, strong guys. Like that's kind of what their sales team was made of. And that's just this is just the thesis that I've captured, and I think it could be it could be a wrong, but if your sales team, what I've learned, could be like 19-year-olds, it could be 50-year-olds. And obviously with labor laws, you're never gonna discriminate, but you wanna understand who you're going after. And through the physical features of what they look like, I was able to see like, hey, these guys were probably athletes. They probably were in college. They probably were in some type of solar industry before. They probably had the door knock doors before. They probably, been in cold calling, working in a fast-paced environment. It was kind of the analysis that I've learned looking at the individuals that were on the team. Now, the third thing that I learned is that there's specific types of salespeople that they're looking for. And this is the example that I was given that I want to share with you, was there's dogs, there's horses, and there's tigers, okay? Lesson is find more sales tigers. So the dogs were people, if you have animals, dogs are you have to provide for them. They won't eat until you put the food in the bowl and you put the bowl down, right? You don't want the dogs, right? You want this, and the second was horses. Horses are, please forgive me for the graphics, is you gotta keep getting after them. They'll run, they're quick, they're fast, but if you watch the Kentucky Derby, they have to have direction, they have to have their blinders on, and they have to have their leader that's always, this is just all physically are being, told, being whipped to do the thing. The horse is being whipped on the direction, okay? Sidebar, please, this is not how you treat people, okay? This is just saying horses run because they are being whipped, and that means the whip is hey, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, keep going. They don't want that reassurance. You want someone who's going to be just a straight up tiger. And what is a tiger? From this is a tiger is someone who, they just killed a bear, they're hunting, they just killed a bear, and they just ate their meal, they're hungry, they're full. They're full, they're not hungry, and then the squirrel walks across their face, and they're boom, I gotta go kill that, and I have to go ahead and eat, even though I just ate. So their philosophy is look for tigers, people that are going to just be hunters and constantly ready to rock 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And that's kind of the structure that they use, and find people like that, okay? So find sales tigers. Now, an also cool lesson is that sales guys have to cut their teeth to provide, to prove their spot, to prove that they're a winner. So they don't just give new reps great leads and like let them win. They let their sales reps actually just go out there and figure out. So the sales reps that come in are cutting their teeth on bad leads. They start out as SDRs, which are, they're setting appointments, they're learning how to set, they're learning how to make more phone calls, and then through the process of learning and getting small wins, they are elevated inside the organization and grown. Okay, so they all start with typically a low on-track earnings with a ton of growth upside. So you want to start at the lowest totem pole, and then at every tier there's clear KPIs of how you can grow, and there's a lot of growth upside where you can go from sales agent that's doing SDRs to then going to being a closer sales manager, and X, Y, and Z, and you can have a clear growth plan. Okay, so that was the plan. That's what I learned from them, is that their sales team your sales team has to see a clear path of growth, which is really cool. And that's why they talked about with the sales guys that you have a compensation plan that is tiered, that they can elevate, okay? And you have to build long-term progress markers to retain talent. This is one of the things that we wanted to look through, is like, how can I retain top talent? And they just talked about having long-term goals and making sure that your team is elevating and allowing them to advance and grow, because sales guys, which you're gonna learn here, are very competitive. And the fourth thing is that I talked about like our churn. Like sometimes we have 40% churn in agents in the last 2 years. It's like, hey, that's normal. This is part of the game because it's sales. Like some people aren't gonna win. And I learned from them, it's okay to let people go who don't have core values and are not making progress quickly. So the sales lions will win and they'll find a way to win, okay? Sales tigers will find a way to win. And now, what was also interesting was that I learned a lot about weekly competition, which allows for driven performances. And what I learned is that a lot of agents and a lot of sales guys on their team, they don't want money, they want bragging rights, okay? So they have a sales belt that they actually give to their sales team floor of the agents who like close the top deals, or the guy that was the #1 spot. He walks around with the belt on his shoulders and everyone knows in that office he's the sales killer, like he won the week. And they said that that's better than money. Provide credibility and provide a way that your sales team can flex, basically prove to everyone else that they're the winner, and that's what they love. And then they do have some competitions weekly that give away cash, fun prizes. They talked about like an underwater scooter once, and then ultimately gift cards as well. So there's ways that they incentivize their team through those. Now, if an agent is making progress and has the core values, keep them. So one thing that I struggle with is like, hey, how do I know who to invest in long-term and who I don't? Just being really, really transparent. And when it comes to sales, they said, hey, like it depends. Like, are they making progress? And if they are making progress, keep. Good. Do they have core values? Keep. Are they making progress with no core values? Don't keep. So core values are so important. Do they have the hunger? Are they finding a way? Are they doing whatever it takes to win? They have that, great. And then if it's a skill problem, then you can coach them. And there's one concept that's not on here. It's if you're working with a salesperson and they're not making progress, it's either you, the sales trainer, it's either them, the sales agent, or it's in between the process that you are using. So it's the sales manager or leader, it's the agent, or it's the sales rep, or it's the process in between. And how do you know if the process in between is a problem? If no one else is doing well, then the process in between sucks. If it's you, you're not showing up, you're not holding them accountable, you're not doing what you need to do, then it's probably you. But if it's you, if you're doing everything that you can to help this agent win or a sales guy win, and the process has proven to be working, and it's probably them. And if it's them, that's something to consider, and that allows you to understand, should you move forward or progress, okay? Another thing that they talked about, which gave me great insights, is that you have to give your team more shout outs around your core values. Okay, so if your sales team's underperforming, you want them to win, or you want them to be lions, or they want them to be sales tigers, is faster reinforcement. Give them praise. If someone just closed a deal, don't just say great job closing a deal, say great job closing the deal with Miss Betty. Be specific, and ultimately make sure you give praise around the core values. Way to have utter sincerity. So the feedback loops are quick and often. The shout outs are very, very fast, and then it's also around displaying your core values. And that's how they build their culture in their sales teams, about the core values, make it quick and make it specific, okay? Now the last core thing that I really talked about in the sales process that I really picked on is how to actually train the sales team, okay? How do you train your sales team to get better? And this is what they talked about. They have 4 core elements when it comes to getting better. Okay, the first one is that you want to have a weekly team call review where everyone gets to get together, and then you want to make sure that you are doing call reviews daily. Now, sidebar that's really important, I'll add in a little sidebar that I just thought through, is they always start their meetings with shout outs, are huge. So every morning, every meeting, whenever your sales team's together, make sure that you are giving clear shout outs, okay? Then through there, they have a weekly team call review. And then the second part of that is that they do role play daily with their team. So typically I ask them, how do they train their sales team to role play? They break off in twos and pairs and they role play every morning. Boom, role play, role play, role play, role play, role play. So they do a daily role play with their team because that's a fast way to progress. The third thing that they taught us was like, your team has to have an end of day report because you have to manage 2 things. And our team does have an end of day report. You need to do 2 things. Manage, number 1 is KPIs. How many presentations? What's your core KPI? You want to make sure they have X, at least they're doing this every single day, whether it's dials, it's presentations, it's making sure that they have enough talk time. Core KPIs, and then you also have to manage their emotions. They talk about being in sales as a very highly emotional position, which I thought about, but sometimes I even forget. It's like, hey, just ask your team how it's doing. Sometimes something at the home could impact their whole performance. And it's not that they don't want to be here, and it's not that they don't want to succeed. It's like, hey, they're just going through a massive emotional roller coaster. Sales is up, down, and in those valleys you have to make sure that you're managing your team's emotions. The last thing they talked about with the framework is one-on-one daily. So if an agent is new or a new guy is coming into your sales team, make sure that you're meeting with them daily, at least for some time, just checking in and training them. So prioritize your newer agents rather than your senior agents with more one-on-ones and daily accountability. When it comes down to accountability, this is a framework for leadership, a very simple framework that you could use in your management process for your leadership, that even Layla talks about, that was just really, really important, and I just want to remember it. So it's the accountability formula. They talk about this for other leadership departments. Accountability equals expectations plus measure, you got to measure them, with the amount of feedback loops, okay? Accountability equals what the expectation is, how they measure it, times that by your feedback loop. So, and the expectation is, what is the expectation, how to do the expectation, and when to do it by, okay? The data is also measuring the accountability. So you need to make sure that you close more deals. How you do it is you get on the dialer, do this many dials, and then you gotta make sure you have it by this amount by the end of the week. And the data is like, hey, well, you closed, the goal was to do 10, you did 11, great job. Or you did 8 and your goal was 10. Well, the data shows that you didn't improve. You gotta measure it with data. And the third is that you wanna make sure that you have fast and better feedback. So make sure you're always getting feedback that reassures their accountability. So if their goal was to do this, if they're doing it, give them feedback, okay? And then the one thing that I'm gonna end with when it comes to their sales, huge takeaway that I think can help anyone, and then I'm gonna go into Alex Hormozi's lesson and big game plans, is they have a sales winning playbook. They said build a how to win playbook. Okay, so I wanna give you a story. Their director of sales, probably crushing at their company, started off at the lowest tier. He was the agent that was calling garbage leads, like leads that were thrown away. He started there, and through that process, he went from that, graduating from SDR to a closer to a sales manager to a director, and he had his full ascension process. And what they talked about is your team needs to hear that if they're new or they're seasoned, you have to have a playbook on how to win. Stories of what it took, the grind, the lessons, the pain, the hardship, and then through that, it created massive success. So the one thing that I'm gonna be implementing is just helping our team make sure that they are implementing a how to win playbook as a sales agent. How can you go through the hard and how can you be successful? Explain what it takes to win. Explain all the hard things that you're gonna go through, and if that's you, you can have a clear playbook and make sure that your team understands how to ascend, okay? And just overall, I learned from this is me just helping give you guys more feedback, is that a lot of their success and what they share is all based off of stories and framework. So tell more stories. Now, getting into the final point is lesson number 4. Alex Hormozi's advice, new framework that he talked about, which is the more, market, model, money, and manpower. So side note, when it comes to how Alex thinks, when it comes to his team, how they think, everything they do has a framework. And this makes it easy to remember and easy to apply. So when you ask one of their execs, like, here's the question, they would just go back to, well, do more, or, this framework. So how did we get to speak with Alex Hormozi? So what happened is that we show up on day 2, we arrive early, we go into the building first, and one of their executives is walking around. He says, hey, I've actually wanted to see if you guys are cool with like asking Alex a question. You've asked a lot of questions like, are you guys cool? I was like, heck yeah, we're cool. And without this, just for some context, if I didn't have the time to actually speak to Alex, and there's 80 other people, 85 other people that didn't have it, I'd be like a little disappointed. I was like, man, I would be a little disappointed, because this is like gave us clear action, and it gave us clear planning on what we need to do next. And what Alex's advice was gave us clear direction on how we're going to build a $100 million business. Okay, so what happened? So eventually Alex walks out, with his security. He walks up on stage. We're all sitting in chairs, and then we're just waiting to give questions. And there's a microphone, and this is what you probably hear on his podcast. And he walks up, and there's a whiteboard like you see in his videos, and he writes down this. He writes down more, market, model, money, manpower. He writes out that framework, and in that framework, all of your questions are going to be answered through that. And 7 people go up, they ask questions, and he just uses that frame of the 5 M's. So what was our question and how did it get answered? So our question was this: to grow our life insurance call center to, we are at X revenue, we want to get to Y revenue. Should we add another product to increase, like Medicare, to increase our LTV? Or should we change our model to a brokerage model, right, to allow higher margin, less risk, but more upside for agents to prevent attrition? Okay. And what happened was this: Alex clearly said, no, do not add another product. He's like, no, don't do that. And here's why. He says the industry that you're battling sells this dream. You guys do not have to be the MLM guys, like that's out there. But you can be something different. And he said, just do that. And when he said just do that, I was like, what do you mean? He's like, just do this. Be and change that model. Change your model. So he looked at all the M's and he said, hey, just fix the model a little bit. Like, you're good. You guys have the systems, you have the process in place. Just add that extra model. You're going to retain and attract. Do that. It's going to increase your LTV. It's going to allow you to grow your business, scale your vision, have more margin, and do that. And more people want it anyways. He said, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to attract better people. You're going to help more agents. And ultimately, it's going to fix all your recruiting and ultimately your cash flow or LTV problems, because you're going to attract better people. They're going to plug into your system, and then they can ascend into a broker model. So, which is what? Hire great agents, give them your system, allow them to ascend into a brokerage model, and then through them allow them to build their team. And here's why this is the right move and why we're going to go that way, is because number one, we have a proven $11 million sales system. This allows agents to win. We don't have some slimy, fake MLM dream, like it's a bunch of BS that the industry talks. It's like, no, you guys have a good system, and it's not slimy. It's like, just do that, but add the brokerage. And interesting enough, like the team knew us. They do extensive research on you guys. And he's like, oh yeah, you guys are the ethical insurance agents. Repeat that again. He was like, wait, you guys are like the ethical insurance agents. Like, that's you guys. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, just keep that standard. The third was like, you have to allow a clear growth path to allow your agents to make 250 plus with the reality of being an owner. And he's like, that's what you guys are fighting against. You need to have a better growth plan to have your agents make more money and feel like they can have some type of ownership and growth opportunity. And that's why this is gonna be the right move. And the fourth thing is that he's like, dude, it's gonna attract 2 types of agents. You're gonna have agents who are employee focused that can ultimately come into your business and just do well and like what you're already doing. Or you can have the ownership opportunity where they can build and lead massive growth and have this growth opportunity that they can also fit their vision into your vision. And through that, it was a really, really simple conversation, 5 to 6 minutes. And he was like, just do that. Don't add Medicare, build your brokerage arm, and do more of that. And it was a really simple complex. Like, he didn't really have to go into anything elaborate. It was just like, do that, dude, like just run. So through that, also Alex talked about some requirements that we're gonna need if we do go this route. He talked about like, hey, you can do this, but don't be those slimy guys, okay? Don't. You have to set clear KPIs to ascend at each model. So if you're going from LOA, employee to brokerage, you have to have clear KPIs. And you don't want to just bring anyone in. He's like, I want you to have clear tracking on who's coming into the funnel and who you're ascending. Don't just bring in. He's like, now what's going to happen is like people are going to want to ascend faster. He's like, if people want to ascend faster, then let them ascend faster into the brokerage model and use your systems, but they have to pay for it. He's like, charge them 10 grand, move them into the brokerage arm, but they have to have clear proof of production. Don't just bring them in. Don't just allow them to just elevate, have clear proof of results. And the main purpose of this was like, don't ascend everyone and make sure that you keep control. Let them go through your funnel and make sure that you're highly vetting them, and don't be like the MLMs out there, was his advice. So let's summarize a little bit about simple actions moving forward. I did all this work, so I want to have a clear game plan of what to do and how to move forward. Number one, focus on recruiting more agents. Hire 15 to 20 agents per month minimum. Secondly, create insane opportunity for agents to grow to $250,000 plus, where their vision can fit inside of our vision. Well, guess what? We're already working on it. Coming soon. Be prepared. And the third thing is create more better content. He says focus on hiring and then focus more on content. Everything that doesn't matter around content, it's going to make you more money. Do more content. And the last thing was our flywheel. And the summary is this. Our flywheel, our secret flywheel is this. Create content to attract A players. Send them into a free school course that creates a lead magnet. Recruit them into an LOA model like the employee model, which provides the systems. Give them a true system, something that actually shows it works. And then allow them to ascend into a brokerage or a growth opportunity, and then allow them to grow and build a skill, and allow them to build a team and to scale and have ownership where they can make way over $250,000. And that is what we're going to do. Coming soon is we're going to change this industry. And this is my note to myself. We are going to change the life insurance industry. So to all those that poured into us, thanks for your help. And for all those in the industry, we have something incredible coming. So this is a note to yourself, and I hope you guys that this was valuable for you for watching this, is to your future self, Peter. Be patient. The goal is one more week. Stay alive longer than everyone else. Give your best stuff away for free. Continue to do that. And continue to be the ethical insurance guy that the Hormozi's team called you. Don't cut corners. You will change this industry. Put others before you and love people. Let's win.